Welcome back, you guys. My name is Sarah. I'm known as Carnivore Yogi over on Instagram. Happy Vlogmas. Today I'm going to talk to you about beef suet. Now, I did make a whole separate video just a few months ago about how to render down beef suet, how to eat it. I will make sure I link that below this video. Today I'm just going to talk more about suet, answer some of your questions that I get quite a bit even after posting that video a couple months ago. So I started eating beef suet in February of this year when I switched over to a high-fat carnivore diet. I found that butter was giving me histamine issues. I would get a headache and my blood sugar would go up 20 or 30 points within 30 minutes to 2 hours of eating it. And so I took it off the table while I worked on healing my gut. I'm still in process of healing my gut. I can now handle butter, but I still really enjoy beef suet. So beef suet is different than beef fat. I'm going to do a full separate video about beef fat, how to eat it, how I prepare it, store it, all of that. So make sure you're subscribed. But today I'm going to talk to you just about beef suet, and the difference between beef fat and beef suet is specifically the fat around the kidneys. Now, your best bet for getting some beef suet is going to be your local butcher, local farmer. You can go to www.eatwild.com if you are in the United States. Not sure if that covers Canada as well, but to contact your local farmer and ask them if you could purchase some beef suet, or if they have that, because a lot of times they'll either throw it away or ground it up into the meat. Now, beef suet that I use, I have more fat in my freezer than I do meat, to be honest with you. I do have meat in my freezer, but I have so much beef suet. So I'm going to show you guys all the different types. I'll give you a couple sources online, but just promise me you guys are not going to buy them out. Promise me. Okay, so the first place I get beef suet, of course, is going to be White Oak Pastures. Now, I will be honest with you guys, the beef suet from White Oak Pastures is a little bit grassier, so it is not my go-to when I eat beef suet. But if I just want to render some beef suet down and either cook with it or just eat it in its solid rendered down form, I will do that with the White Oak Pastures. I don't typically cut it off the block and just eat it, to be honest with you. The second place that you can get beef suet from is US Wellness. Now, I've tried both. This is their lamb suet, which is actually a lot more waxy. So I guess that is higher in stearic acid from what I have read. So this could be a really good source of stearic acid if that's something that you want to put in your diet. You'll check out Brad Marshall. I think he's the stearic acid guy that talks about all the health benefits of stearic acid. So lamb suet's going to be a really good source for you guys. I don't love the lamb suet, to be honest with you. This is another one that I will just render down and cook with it. And even after that, I don't really eat the rendered. But they also have beef suet. This is a hunk from US Wellness because it comes in like a big 5-pound bag. Now, the suet from US Wellness, the way I like to eat this suet is I thaw it out on my refrigerator and I'll just have little chunks of it. Because it usually doesn't, you can see, well, I don't know if you can see really well through this bag, but it's pretty white, so it doesn't have a ton of meat in it. So US Wellness is pretty consistent with getting a lot of the meat out of their suet, so you can just eat it off the block or eat it. This suet, I like it in my refrigerator. This is like maybe a pound here because I got a 5-pound bag and I divided it up. So I will keep like a pound of it in my refrigerator at a time. You don't want to keep it in your fridge longer than like a week usually, maybe 2 weeks, but I don't go longer than a week because it will start to smell, and that means don't eat it. Okay, so that's the beef suet from US Wellness. Now, the other place I get beef suet from, and I'm going to show you 2 different batches just so you can see the difference, is Slinker Grass Fed, who I have no affiliation with or sponsorship. Same with US Wellness, no affiliation or sponsorship with them. I do with White Oak Pastures have an affiliation sponsorship, but their suet's not on my top favorite. Now, their meat, oh yes, their Iberico pork fat, oh yes, that's on the top of my list. Their chicken skins, all of that, but their beef suet is like not my ultimate favorite. Probably my ultimate favorite beef suet is Slinker Grass Fed beef. Don't buy them out, you guys, promise me. save some for me. But I want to show you the difference in 2 different shipments that I got. This shipment here is really pink. I don't know if you can see that. So what I will end up doing with this really pink suet is rendering this down and straining all the meat out. Again, you can watch the video I did. I will link it below this video of how I render down the suet, and then I will eat this suet. When it's rendered, I will eat it by the tablespoon. I'll weigh it out, measure it out, put a little salt on top. To me, it's absolutely delicious. I will use liver chips and just do like a chips and dip type of situation. This suet, I really like it, and it is farm dependent. So using that resource that I gave you guys at the beginning to find a local farm, you might find a local farm where the suet isn't overly grassy. It's gonna depend on the grass that they eat. It's gonna depend on their diet. This is grass-fed also, so it's not necessarily, and grass-finished. It's not necessarily grass-fed versus grain-fed suet. I do think you should eat grass-fed suet. I'll talk about that another time. But if you're gonna be just ingesting fat, I think it should be from a grass-finished cow. That's just my personal opinion here. But essentially, since this is so pink, it's gonna have a lot of meat in it, so I'm gonna strain it out. This one's a bit more white. I don't know if you can see that, and I have an example of a batch that I bought. This is literally what I do. It's just really simple. I keep a block of the Slanker suet in my freezer, and I take a knife and I'll just cut off a chunk of it. So this is a block that's been chopped and chunked quite a bit, if you can see that. There's a little meat in there, but it's inconsequential. It doesn't worry me. And I will just measure off a couple ounces of this at a time and eat it straight out of the freezer. That's the way I like it. So that's an option. You can eat it that way. If that sounds like horrible, gross, I will link a link to my friend Becky Niles, her channel. She's a big fan of cooking her suet in the air fryer for little bits of time, so getting it warmed up. And that's what I would recommend doing if you're like, I don't want to eat raw suet. You can just put it in your air fryer and save the drippings, because it will render down a little bit from cooking it, and you can save that and cook with it later, eat it later. Don't waste it. But that's the way Becky likes it, is go in the air fryer. You can also put it in a little skillet, fry it for a little bit, and then eat it. It's just gonna depend. Like if I tried to do that with the this lamb suet, because I've tried to do this, if I tried to cook it a little bit and then eat it, it will render down really fast, because there's pretty much like no meat in here, and it's just the consistency. So you really do have to experiment with suet, and number one, find one that you like, that tastes good. It's going to be farm dependent. So I know I really do love the taste of the suet from Slanker. I know I like the taste of the suet from US Wellness. I know if I'm going to get suet from White Oak Pastures, I'm going to just probably render it and cook with it. I probably won't eat it raw or even thawed out. So that's just, you just have to find what you like the best. Now you might order the suet from White Oak Pastures and like love how it tastes. We're all so different, and what, you know, works for me may not work for you. My preference may not match yours, but this is just a quick little, you know, video about suet, how I eat it, where you can get it, how you prepare it. And again, you can watch the video I did where I show you guys how to render it down. And then you can use it for any kind of cooking, like any place where you would use an oil, just use the suet, use the rendered down suet, and you're gonna get those fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and it's just a really great fat source, especially if you're sensitive to butter and you wanna give your gut a little bit of time to heal. I think it's a really great option. I will do a whole separate video talking about beef fat. I do get all my beef fat from White Oak Pastures, and it's delicious and I eat it. So that is a good source for raw beef fat. And you might find that you like suet and you don't like raw beef fat, and vice versa. So don't just try something once and then just give up on it entirely. You have options. You have lots of options. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Hopefully I answered some FAQs about suet. I'm happy to answer more questions. Go ahead, leave me a comment below if there's anything else I can answer, and have a really awesome rest of your day. Bye.